Islam Makachev 2 fights later, going through Dan Hooker in very similar fashion. Little heartbreaking for me. I love Hooker as a fighter, but this was all Islam. Took about 40 seconds to find his takedown, in which Hooker did everything humanly possible, showing a lot more aggression than his fight against Chandler, circling well, but just the hook to double leg takedown too fast, set up too well. And once he got the takedown, he was a fish in water. Maybe a crocodile in water is a better analogy for how quickly he found that Kimura. And all she wrote within 3 minutes. I don't think there's any controversy in saying get Makachev to the title shot, let him fight the winner of Oliveira Poirier. We know exactly what kind of elite talent we're looking at. We just have to look into his corner to be reminded. And I just want to see how that style plays out against the guys who are at the very top of the division right now. And that's Poirier and Oliveira. You either have discount Tony Habib if you have Oliveira and Makachev, and you have a chance for redemption for Poirier. So either way, there's going to be a fantastic storyline there. On a 9-fight winning streak, I think Makachev's proven everything he needs to get his opportunity at the title. And it'd be really cool to see a bit of a longer reign than we saw with Khabib. Lightweight, a division with so many sharks, you need a style like Makachev's to put up 5-6 title defenses, and that would be such amazing entertainment in the division. Okay, on to the championship fights for this card. First up, we had for the sort of interim, sort of real bantamweight belt, Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen, and Petr Yan taking the fight 4-1, I think, on across the judges' scorecards. Sandhagen put on a hell of a show and put up what seemed like the best fight he could. So versatile, such high volume, really great defense in and out, used his range excellently, and none of it mattered because Yan did what he always does, made his reads early. I don't want to say weathered a storm, but took in some volume, looked absolutely untouched 3-4 rounds in from all those strikes that seemed that they were landing. And once he brought the pressure, only ever amped it up, never backed down, continued to walk forward. This guy just looks unbeatable in every one of his fights. It's really hard to consider Aljamain Sterling the proper bantamweight champ over him after he puts up such a convincing win against Sandhagen like that, showing his skill exactly where it always has been. And after how their earlier fight went, you know the UFC is going to try and unify those belts. It'll be a great storyline if the two make it to the octagon. I feel like there's some doubts on if Sterling, what he's going to do, if he's ever going to make that walk. He knows how the first fight played out better than anyone. And he hasn't really, I haven't seen him be straight up honest about that. So we'll see what happens there. But right now, Petr Yan seems like the best bantamweight in the world. I don't have much to say about the main event. It was a bit of a tearjerker for me as well. Not a great card for my favorite fighters. Jan Blachowicz losing the belt to Glover Teixeira via rear naked choke in the second round. Really, I just wanted to take this moment to acknowledge what a different breed of sport MMA is from all these other ones. You can lose your guy on defense in the NBA for a second, and the worst thing that can happen to you is a 3-pointer gets drained. You can play some bad D for a second in the NHL. Worst case that happens is a breakaway chance on your goaltender. Football, baseball, most of these, they all have very recoverable from penalties for 2 to 3 seconds of lapseness. Jan Blachowicz makes one mistake, goes for a really poorly advised Kimura, and that's it. That's the fight. Gives Glover Teixeira all the advantageous top grappling position he needs to work his way to that rear naked choke and does not mess about. And the 42-year-old earns himself a UFC gold to conclude, or at least put an ending page in a phenomenal MMA career story. Don't know what's next for either of those fighters. A lot of young, scary talent in that division. Magomed Ankalaev, who kicked off the main card, one of those names. You've got to feel good for Glover. I hope this isn't the end for Yan. He knew he spent the entire first round keeping his guard closed because he knew he didn't want to grapple with Glover, and then does something like that. Just such a silly move, but that's the sport and that's what you love about it. All right, that's my UFC recap. As I alluded to briefly, really looking forward to next week's UFC pay-per-view as well. So Thursday should have a preview for that. That's going to wrap up our Combat Corner for now.